Okay, welcome back, Michael Olabode. It's great to see you again. And as always, when we are in the same Zoom room, we are talking about masculine and feminine principles and about relationships in general. Today, specifically about how to protect your feelings, how to protect your emotions. Short and sweet, how can we do this, Michael? Because it's so easy to lose ourselves and to get hurt.
100% it is. And we sometimes lose faith in giving our emotions when we find that we've gave our emotions in the past and it's caused issues and basically it's been somewhat used and abused. How do you protect your emotions? The way we want to do it is by almost treating it like a cake. If you give a small piece of cake to someone, see what they do with it. Do they respect you? Do they thank you? Or do they throw it in the bin? Do they abuse it? Do they throw it in your face? Do they tell you?
I was just going to say, do they throw it back at you?
Yeah. That's the thing, right? That's such a common occurrence. And so rather than, what happens is we tend to invest so much in our emotions. And then when it doesn't go right, we hold completely back, not trusting emotions. But the problem wasn't that you gave your emotions. It was just the volume and the person you gave your emotions to.
The wrong person,
so your emotions, just start small. Don't go into this whole head over heels thing. Start small and see what they do with it. Because let's say you give a small piece, like we're saying, of your life or your experiences. If they relish it and respect it, give a bit more. If they don't, then it's going to hurt you, but it's not going to hurt you way as much as if you give your whole life to them. You see the point? So we're not saying that it doesn't hurt if you give emotion, but if you just start small, a little bit of trust, a little bit of emotions, a little bit of vulnerability, just to test our waters, just to see how it is, then when they do reciprocate with it, you can adjust accordingly. So that's a key thing with emotions. And it's important that you do that so that you can manage your boundaries and self-regulate as well.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue here is that once you fall in love, you fall hard, at least for us females. It's very difficult often to stay in that rational space where we just test the waters and give a little bit. If you've been hurt enough times, it probably becomes a little bit easier. But generally, it's like if there's a person who is willing to embrace you, willing to listen, willing to be with you, etc., then obviously you want to give it all and give it everything. So do you have some advice for someone who's finding it difficult to pace themselves when it comes to the early stages of relationship?
Try not to alone. Ensure that you have friends to check in with. That's really, really, really important. Nice. And by the way, I don't mean cheerleaders. No. Friends who will actually be there for you to support you, but also they will pull you up on the things that you're ignoring. Right, so it's important that you have friends who, like literally,
tell you all the stuff that you don't want to hear, basically.
And tell you stuff you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
If they're friends, and you have to also want it. You can't just be like, "Hey, tell me all the stuff that would work with this." That doesn't work. Yes. But you should have friends that go, "You know what? Hey, this person, such and such. I've made 3 mistakes in my last relationship. I thought that this person was like this. It turned out that way. I thought I was like this. I turned out like that. And this one didn't work because of whatever reason. For this next one, I'm kind of checking the waters. Can you specifically, you know, be a bit of a soundboard and just help me navigate through these feelings and emotions? And when my intuition is telling me, hey, maybe I should step back, can you just like remind me of that? I feel like a friend is someone who can do that. And then you have to be really willing to hear their advice. If they're a true friend, they know what they're talking about and they know you well. That's so much better. Don't try to do this alone, because you just run into the same mistake again and again and again. And for the feminine nature, they have such a beautiful and delicate and gentle heart that when they do get involved with someone who seems promising, it's very difficult to retract that.
Exactly.
You need friends to kind of almost like holding on to a bit of a, what do you call it, like a rescue rope as you the waters, you know?
Do you have any advice from when you've already kind of overstepped that line and you are already emotionally invested, but you feel like you need to take a step back and become more observant? Again, how to do that, first of all, without putting off the other person, but also without cutting things off all too harshly?
Sure. It's important that you know why you're doing it. Often if you know why you're doing something, the explanation why you're doing it with compassion, the explanation should then be in a very gentle and kind manner. So for example, you can go like this. You've just stepped again into the seventh connection where you've, played out the same patterns again and again and again. This time you want to get right. You go, I really respect you as a person. And actually, it's really important for us and for me, for us that we make it work. What I've done in the past, and explain yourself just very honestly, what I've done with your limitations, what I've done in the past is I've jumped into connection and relationships. And what I've done is I've said that, I love you really early. And I've found that it creates all these false hope and promises about our connection. And then I've ended up, not really feeling it. Because I respect you and appreciate you, and I want to make sure that this is something that could work, I feel like maybe it would be good if we take things a little bit slower. Because if it's important to you and it's important to me, that's something that will manifest over time. That's something that, as we connect more, it'll be something that's very natural and something that we won't doubt. But if I just rush into, I'm doing it with you as I've done before, look, I've got this, record where I've just constantly done the same thing again and again, because I feel like you're special and you're something that I could live my life out with. I want to make sure to get this right this time.
Yeah, fantastic. So what I'm hearing is, in you sharing this, is that it, as always, basically comes back to really crystal clear communication, like being willing to communicate from my heart, also put something on the line probably that might be a bit vulnerable, might not be pretty and glossy on the surface, but it's real. And in us presenting ourselves as that real person who is doing what we are doing for a good reason, we are likely to get the other person to reciprocate. And if they are not willing to do that, that is also a strong sign of potentially being quite mindful about protecting ourselves.
Yeah, please, 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 on another day, let's discuss this whole thing where we move around being fearful of rejection, because what I want to do is create a perception that if someone says no to your genuine request to take things slow and easy, that's the biggest yes, because we know this person's not for us.
That's just right.
Know that, but we're so wrapped up in this person having to like me and perceive in a certain way that we don't truly be honest with ourselves, and we end up getting hurt in the process time and time and time again. And it's so clear from so many of the studies, like in the neuropsychology by Montreal University, it talks about how the feminine nature is more likely to put their emotions in whatever they're doing. And so if it breaks, it hurts. It really, really hurts. So don't do that again. But you want to also end your proposal by apologizing for any negative feelings you've caused. And just say, hey, I'm so sorry that I've led you on for the last few weeks. I'm so sorry that this kind of has maybe put a bit of a spanner in our works, but I do care about you. And I really want to get this right. And I know that if I don't do this and adjust myself, then even if you're the right person, because I'm not doing it in the right way, it won't be right. And I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like meeting each other from a place of authenticity. And if the authentic version of me fits well with the authentic version of you, brilliant. And if it doesn't, then the earlier we can figure this out and move on, the better. So it doesn't build up and then hurt more over time. Thank you so much, Michael. As always, very insightful and very interesting. Guys, if you have enjoyed this short but sweet conversation, then please follow our channel and hit the bell button if you want to get updates for our next piece of content that we are putting out. I'm sure we're going to see Michael again soon. Until then, have a great time and have good and happy and healthy relationships.
Thanks. See you later.